Hey guys, what is going on? Jurgen from ZurGrinoSports here, and today we are coming at you with the Royal Rumble 2021 review. Before we get into it, quick little self-plug time. If you would like to support me and the channel, you can do so over at Patreon. First link in the description. If not, that's a-okay. Let me know what you guys thought of the Royal Rumble pay-per-view down in the comments below, and if you like my review at the end of the video, leave a like and subscribe if you would like to. But without further ado, let's get into it. I thought that the show overall was a pretty strong show. They had a lot of results go the right way. They had good in-ring quality for some of the matches, some of them not so much, which we'll get to. But I think overall it was a decent show. It was a pretty good show. There were some things that I had minor grievances with. There were a couple things. One thing mainly that I personally had a major grievance with, which from what I've seen from people I've been talking to and on Twitter and stuff, a lot of people don't share, but we'll get to that. So we start off with the pre-show, which I had to watch this time. I usually skip the pre-show of pay-per-views, but they had the tag titles on there, so had to watch it. They did a pre-match interview, asking Asuka and Charlotte, Charlotte, you've been dealing with Lacey, and Asuka, you've been dealing with The Fiend, and, how are you guys going to focus? Charlotte turned that into, hey, I know these guys are going to try and cheat because nobody wants to face me head on. She's an awful face promo. Asuka says she says that Shayna and Nia are not ready for Charlotte and they're not ready for Asuka. Then Asuka goes out for her entrance. The camera cuts back to Charlotte looking kind of intense backstage. I don't know if that was an audio or a visual error and Charlotte was just upset at being on the pre-show, or if that was meant to be like, hey, she's kind of not too happy about being with Asuka as a tag team or something. I don't really know what's going on there. Maybe that was a mess up. Maybe that was intentional. We'll have to wait and see, I guess. The match itself was okay. I mean, the parts with Nia in it were not, but I mean, the parts with Shayna in it were decent. There was a spot in the match where Charlotte did a moonsault to both Shayna and Nia on the outside near the end of the match, kind of, with Ric Flair making his entrance, distracting Charlotte. Shayna goes for a roll-up. Charlotte gets out of it. Lacey then appears when Charlotte is putting in a figure 8 on Shayna. The referee is focused on asking Shayna if she's going to submit, so Lacey reaches in, pulls out Charlotte's arms from under her, and then is like, yeah, I just cost you that. What's up, dude? And then Charlotte kind of reaches out, grabs her by the hair, and like punches her or something. Then gets back into wrestling with Shayna. Ric Flair comes over, puts something in Lacey's hand, walks away. Charlotte gets another figure 8 into Shayna, and then while that's happening, women's right, which what I believe to be brass knucks, into Charlotte, who then, instead of Shayna, the legal woman in the match, instead of her just pinning Charlotte right off of that, she went and tagged in Nia. Nia did her leg drop and won. Right? I don't have a problem with the result. The title shouldn't have been on Charlotte and Asuka to begin with. They just wanted to have, fake buzz around Charlotte's return because they wanted it to sound really big. So they're like, oh, Charlotte returned and won a championship. And then you click and it's like, oh, tag team titles kind of thing for the casual people maybe, so they can get tuned back into the product. So I was not a fan of Asuka and Charlotte having the tag titles. So I don't mind them losing the titles. I would have preferred it for it to have been to Riot Squad, Liv and Ruby. But, Nia Jax, brother, Samoans, they got their hand in everything. She should not be employed. But the finish was a little bit overbooked, you know what I mean? Like, why do you have the initial breakup of the figure 8 if you're just going to put the figure 8 back in and do the woman's right? Why do you need the brass knucks? The women's right itself is her finish, so why not put over her finish if you were going to do that? I'm happy that Charlotte is the one who took the fall, because if Asuka would have taken the fall, that would have been awful. So I'm happy that Charlotte took the fall. I wish Shayna would have gotten the win for her and Nia, though, personally, because, I mean, why is Nia tagging in to pin? Shayna's already legal. Just cover Charlotte 1, 2, 3. It wasn't really necessary. I don't really have too much problem with the interference itself from Lacey. I have a problem with the whole feud going on because you don't really need it, but if they're doing it, I don't really have a problem with them doing the interference to cost the tag titles. It's just the way that they did it was a little bit too overbooked. Ric Flair entrance causing a roll-up, then Lacey appears and breaks up the figure 8, then Rick comes on, gives her a weapon, then the women's right, and then tag in, and then, you know what I mean? It's just, you could have skipped a lot of that and just did like Rick entrance, they looking up, women's right, turn around, Shayna puts in the submission, bada boom, bada bing, they win the thing. You know, like something like that. You don't have to do all this extra bullshit, you know what I mean, to make Charlotte look fucking good. You've shoved Charlotte down everybody's throats and put her over people who deserved it more for years. She has a high standing in the eyes of the viewer. You don't need to give her a higher one in a feud against Lacey, which, by the way, this feud does nothing for Lacey because it is effectively Rick versus Charlotte. They could have put anybody in that spot and the exact same thing would be happening. So it does nothing for Lacey, if you ask me. So the result is fine. I'm fine with the title switching hands. I don't like, and I'm fine that there was interference. I just don't like how they did it. It was a little bit overbooked for me personally, but yeah, Shayna can't get wins, so Nia had to win, but the tag titles are back on Nia and Shayna. Then on the proper start of the pay-per-view, we had Drew versus Goldberg for the WWE title. Goldberg made his entrance, then they played the promo package for the match, then Drew made his entrance. I don't know who the fuck made that production choice, but that was stupid. I will say that for the Drew and Goldberg match and then the women's title match later, I was having some issues watching the show because my streams were not working. So, yeah, they kind of leveled out later on in the show, but I may have missed a couple things. I missed the finish, for example, to the women's title match later, and I missed something else later. But Drew vs. Goldberg, Drew kind of headbutts and then spears Goldberg before the bell. They go to the outside. Goldberg spears Drew through the barricade. They get back in. They ring the bell. Goldberg goes for the spear, but he gets intercepted by a Claymore, which Goldberg kicks out of. Goldberg then spears Drew after he goes for a Claymore, then another spear, and Drew kicks out, then a jackhammer, and then Drew kicks out, then a Claymore after Goldberg misses a spear into the corner, and Drew retains. After the match, they have Goldberg kind of be like, hey, you know, you passed the test, you deserve it, you earned it, kind of thing, and then shake his hand. Pretty quick match. Nothing special at all. In fact, the quality of the match was fairly poor just because you're so limited with what you can do in a Goldberg match, especially in 2021. You were limited with what you could do in a Goldberg match before it turned shit in the 90s when he was hot. You know what I mean? Now it's 2021. Dude can barely go. You're not going to have a good match. But the right decision was achieved. They came upon the right decision. Drew retained. It wasn't necessary, but I guess to the casual fan, it puts Drew over. So whatever, but the right decision. They made the right decision. Drew McIntyre retained his WWE Championship in a fairly poor match, unfortunately, but you should have expected that, really, as I flip my page on the paper. Excuse the sound it causes. Then we had Sasha versus Carmella for the women's title. Carmella still has her entrance with the silhouette on the big sheet that they hang up, which is nice. Her theme music's incredible, too. I'm just a really big fan of her repackaging. I'm hoping that maybe post-Mania down the line, she can get another women's title run, because the gimmick that she has now, I think, is just really good. So if they can just keep her strong and keep her relevant until they end up doing what they do with the women's title until Mania and then shortly after Mania, that would be really cool, in my opinion. Or maybe they move her to Raw actually the draft would have just happened in like the fall, right? So maybe they wouldn't be able to draft her to Raw, but yeah. I guess that kind of gives away the result, but yeah, Sasha does retain. She was obviously accompanied by Reginald, Carmella that being. Sasha had a backstage interview where she talked about how the odds were against her, and she said that the odds don't matter when you're the best, you find a way to win, and that she's going to enjoy the finest champagne of Carmella's tears after retaining the title. There was a Reginald spot where Sasha gets thrown out of the ring. Reginald catches her, and then she Ranas him out of being caught, and then hits him, and then the ref's like, hey, you're ejected, which didn't really make much sense. He was like, he got involved by catching Sasha, fair enough, I guess, but Sasha attacked him, and then he got ejected for it. Sommelier, by the way, is what he's called. I was struggling in the preview video, I think, to remember what a sommelier was, the word sommelier. I was struggling, but it's sommelier. I remember it now. I'll forget it again, but I remember it now. After the whole ejection spot, there was a Carmella suicide dive, which had a nasty looking landing for Carmella. She kind of landed on her like face and like chest. I don't know if Sasha was maybe too far to the side to catch her, or if maybe Carmella went too early or a bit too quick, or something happened. But like the way she landed looked rough. I was kind of worried for a bit, but she kept going on, so I don't think she's too bothered by it. But it was a rough looking landing. And then before the finish happened, my stream cut out. So yeah, but Sasha beat Carmella. I'm gonna assume clean, but I don't know. That's the right result anyway. Sasha should not be losing the title until Mania, in my opinion, and you know what I mean. So yeah, the match quality itself, from what I got to see before my stream cut out, was good. Carmella is getting better and better every time I see her in the ring. And then obviously Sasha is one of the best in the women's division. So yeah, good match between the two. Right person wins. I said it in the preview that this kind of deflated Carmella a little bit, kind of derailed her, them putting her directly into that spot. She probably should have had some rivalries before that, and then kind of led into it post-Mania season kind of thing, where she finally gets the title shot after her return. But they didn't do that. So hopefully they can find a way to rebound with Carmella and get more momentum back under her, because the character, the gimmick she has, I think is perfect. I think she plays it perfectly. I think it works in that division, and I think it's just really good. There was apparently a backstage segment with Bad Bunny, I think there was a backstage segment with New Day and Sammy or something like that, which I didn't get to see because my stream was down still. Then Bad Bunny performed, which my friends were telling me was the worst thing they've seen in their life. So I'll take their word for it, I guess, that it wasn't too great. But then we move on to the Women's Rumble, which luckily I didn't have too many stream issues with. Bayley came in at number 1 with Naomi, returning Naomi coming in at number 2. Lawler was on commentary for some reason, and the reason obviously is Vince probably wanted, the misogynist, sexist commentary from King, the puppies thing that he would do, but it's 2021. Bianca came in at number 3. My stream had a little bit of issues here, but I think Billie Kay was number 4, and then she went over to commentary. Shotzi Blackheart came in at number 5, who I've heard good things about in NXT. I don't watch NXT because I don't have the network, and it's not on TV in Canada from what I know. But apparently she's done a really good work in NXT the past year, so that would have been nice for her. Then my stream came back before Nana. Jesus, why do I keep mixing their names? Shayna came in at number 6. Billy tried to get Shayna to work with her. She ran from commentary up, but she got attacked. I don't know if she tried to get Shotzi to work with her as well, because, again, I wasn't watching. But, yeah, Toni Storm comes in at number 7. Billy approaches her as well, but gets ignored. And Shotzi gets eliminated by Shayna at some point before the number 8 entrance comes in, who is Jillian Hall. Without the face growth, unfortunately, it didn't grow back. Otherwise, maybe we would have seen Boogeyman. But Billy approaches her as well. She's like, yo, Billy and Jilly. And Jillian's like, oh, hell yeah. So I kind of popped for that. Jillian was one of the divas from the era of wrestling that I started watching in, right? In 2005, it would have been that she got introduced as JBL's image consultant. And then obviously the growth on her face, which led to Boogeyman eating it, because that was something that they did. 2005 or 2006 was when that happened. But yeah, then at number 9, Ruby Riott came in. Billy helped Ruby for a little bit, and then she was trying to get Ruby to team up with her and Jillian. Then at number 10, Victoria appeared, which I was really, really happy about. Victoria was one of my, favorite women's wrestlers from the Ruthless Aggression era, because she was one of the women's wrestler who was actually a wrestler. She wasn't, one of the models they brought in who didn't know how to wrestle, and they were just there to advance their modeling career after they left. But she would actually do moves. She would do big moves that like the guys would do. So I was really a fan of her because her in-ring work was one of the best in that division at the time. That was a completely surprise entrance for me as well, because in her Chris Van Vliet interview that she did, she said that she's pretty much retired at this point because like she can't go to the level that she wants to. So that was a pleasant surprise for me. Number 11 was Peyton Royce. There was an iconic spot with Ruby where like Peyton and Billy did a tag team maneuver to somebody, and then Ruby was like, "Oh, you're teaming up with her? I thought you wanted to team up with me," kind of thing. Santana Garrett came in, which was pretty cool. I was a fan of what she did in TNA for a bit because she was in TNA. I don't know if it was Impact yet, actually, but TNA/Impact, whatever you want to call it. She was there for a little bit when I was still watching TNA a few years ago, more than a few years ago now. But I'm happy that she was in the Rumble because it gets mainstream eyes on her. I know she's in NXT right now, but I don't know how much she's doing in NXT currently. So that was probably pretty good exposure for her. I wrote down in my notebook Cool Bianca spot, but I can't remember it. No, I can. She did the skin the cat thing in the corner and had 3 people trying to break her grasp on the rope to eliminate her. And she would wind up and kick one, wind up, kick the other, wind up, kick the other, and then save herself. So I think that's the spot that I was alluding to when I wrote it down in my book. Then Liv Morgan comes out at number 13. Jillian attacks Liv. Billy's like, "Hey, no, we're cool with them." Jillian turns on Billy, and then gets eliminated by Billy, I think, or Peyton. My stream, I think, stuttered a little bit, so I didn't really see. But Liv ended up eliminating Billy, which I think means that Billy was the one to eliminate Jillian. But yeah, Liv gets an elimination over Billy Kay. At number 14, Rhea Ripley, which is somebody who I forgot to think about in my predictions video because it would have made a lot of sense for her to win the Rumble, considering how they pretty much buried her last year and then booked her like shit on NXT for a year. So she kind of needs some... she needs to be built back up because she was one of the hottest prospects in the division leading up to last year. She had great matches in NXT. She was booked strong in NXT, rarely lost, and was winning, convincingly. And then Charlotte Flair happened, so that's unfortunate, and the history writes itself. But Rhea comes in at number 14. She eliminates Toni Storm after a little bit. She eliminates, Victoria was eliminated by Shayna before number 15 comes in. And then Santana was eliminated by Rhea Ripley before number 15 comes in. And number 15, speak of the devil, is Charlotte Flair. Ruby Riott gets eliminated by Bayley at some point before Dana Brooke comes in at number 16. Peyton Royce eliminates Liv Morgan at some point before at number 17. Tori Wilson comes in, which King was very happy about. And then before number 18 comes in, Dana gets eliminated by Rhea Ripley. And then at number 18, we have Ric Flair coming out, which obviously is a bait and switch kind of smoke and mirrors thing for Lacey Evans, who comes out in a Ric Flair robe kind of thing, and King says that it's actually Charlotte's robe, from that she wore during her entrance because it was purple and Charlotte's attire was purple. Charlotte and Lacey brawl to the outside for a little bit, and then Peyton gets eliminated by Charlotte at some point. Tori gets eliminated by Shayna, and then Bayley gets eliminated by Bianca as Mickie James is making her entrance for number number 19. Then at number 20 was Nikki Cross. At number 21 was Alicia Fox. Truth comes out right after Alicia's entrance and then gets on the apron. He's like, oh shit, wrong Rumble. He goes to go back up the ramp. The 24/7 division is there, kind of chases him around the ring. Truth uses Alicia to fend off the 24/7 guys before Alicia rolls him up for the 24/7 title, winning the 24/7 championship. I don't really get the need to have, like, this could have derailed the Rumble, really, because of how shit the 24/7 stuff is typically, but it didn't, which was nice. So, yeah, but Alicia gets the 24/7 title. And then number 22, Mandy Rose comes in. She eliminates Alicia, which then allows Truth to roll her up and win the 24/7 title from Alicia Fox. Then at number 23 is Dakota Kai, which was nice to see her in the Rumble. Lacey eliminates Mickie James at some point before number 24, Carmella, comes in. And she's kind of taking her time to get in the ring. Reginald is there with her, making sure she's hydrated and shit like that. And then Reginald saves Carmella at some point, but Dakota Kai gets eliminated by Rhea Ripley, and Mandy gets eliminated by Rhea Ripley as well. And then Nikki Cross gets eliminated by Carmella. Carmella does get saved by Reginald at some point, and then she goes to get eliminated again, gets saved by Reginald again, who catches her, but number 25, Tamina, is coming to the ring, and then super kicks Reginald, causing him to drop Carmella, which means she was eliminated, kind of thing. So, Carmella was eliminated by Naomi, who threw her over the top, but technically by Tamina, because Tamina caused her to be dropped, and technically by Reggie, I guess. I don't know why I'm calling him Reggie unironically now. It's Reginald. Reggie's like a meme name. There was a cool spot where Naomi gets thrown over, but she doesn't land on her feet. She just lands on her back. So she's like, hey, my feet didn't touch. I'm not eliminated. Yeah, that's cool. Bianca gets hit down, and her hair is kind of like hanging over the apron to the outside. So Naomi uses her hair to kind of like position herself and get herself back up onto the apron. They kind of like squabble for a bit, and then she's like, hey, I needed to get back in, kind of thing, and then they get back in. So that was a cool spot. They kept Naomi going with the Kofi spots. Number 26 was Lana. Then at number 27 was Alexa Bliss. They had a moment where Alexa comes in. She has a bit of offense. Then everybody in the ring, beats her up, and while they're beating her up, lights start to go down Fiend style. Everybody kind of clears the ring, leaves her alone in the ring. Alexa goes towards the ropes, because typically, you know how she's been going to the ropes to do the Bray lean back spot whenever she transitions into Fiend Alexa. She was going to do that in the middle of the ropes, and then Rhea eliminates her before she can kind of transform. So I liked that somebody was sitting there and they was like, hey, before she gets a chance to transform, let me just eliminate her, because she's just a regular person right now. So that was a smart way to eliminate Alexa, because, with the whole Alexa thing, if she's in there long enough, it would only make sense to transition into the Fiend version. So it made sense to get her out before she could, because then you don't have to make the Fiend version of Alexa look weak, because the Fiend Alexa would have to win the Rumble at that point, and I don't think that would have been the right decision. But yeah, Rhea eliminates her. I think Rhea's at like 5 or 6 eliminations now. I didn't keep count, but she got a fair few. Number 28 was Ember Moon. Number 29 was Nia Jax. Lacey got eliminated by Shayna. Then Ember got eliminated by Nia. Then Naomi got eliminated by Nia and Shayna. And Tamina, kind of thing. Or no, sorry. Tamina got eliminated after kind of a bait and switch. They had Tamina kind of stand off with Nia and Shayna, and then Nia was like, I got to go with her. She's family. And then they kind of, bamboozled Tamina. She gets eliminated. Shayna then gets eliminated by Nia, who says she had to. Nia gets eliminated by Lana after kind of a chase sequence in which Lana goes for a sleeper hold on Nia after she eliminated Shayna, and then she kind of slaps her a bit. She runs out of the ring. Nia chases her. She gets back in the ring, stands at the opposite end. Nia kind of charges her. She holds down the rope, just a typical, one of those simple eliminations, gets Nia out of the ring. And then number 30, as we would have learned last night, was Natalya. Natalya is tacked in the entranceway by Nia and Shayna while she's coming down. Nia and Shayna get back in the ring, beat up the people in the ring, then leave and throw Natalya in, which was kind of unnecessary, but it is what it is. You got to have Nia looking strong. You can't eliminate Nia without her getting her heat back, dude. Jesus, why? They had a Natty and Lana thing where they kind of embraced before Natty eliminated Lana, which left the final four being Bianca, Natty, Rhea, and Charlotte. So 2 people who should win, 1 person that you're terrified would win, and 1 person that had absolutely no chance of winning. Natalya gets eliminated by Bianca, leaving Charlotte, Bianca, and Rhea as the final 3. Charlotte ends up getting eliminated by Bianca and Rhea Ripley. Then they have kind of a mini match between Bianca and Rhea Ripley before Bianca wins the Royal Rumble. This was the right call in my decision. If Rhea would have won, I would have been happy as well, because they buried her so badly last year. She should have retained against Charlotte. And she didn't, and it just kind of derailed her year. So it would have been great to have her win the Rumble as well, but I think this is Bianca's year. She has a lot of momentum with her, a lot of fanfare, so I think it's the right time to kind of pull the trigger on Bianca and give her that Rumble win. I think that the way they did it was perfect, because they did Rhea with Bianca's help, of course, because you got to make Charlotte look strong. Not 1 person can eliminate her. It has to be more than 1. It would have been better if it was just Rhea who eliminated Charlotte, but they had both of them eliminate her, and then obviously the mini match, which I love when they do that. I love when they do the final 2 having a mini match, and then, you know what I mean? So that was nice, and then Bianca won. So I think they have a way of doing Charlotte versus Charlotte versus Rhea at Elimination Chamber if they wanted to, for a number 1 contendership kind of thing. And then having Asuka versus Rhea at Mania, and then finally giving Rhea the win she should have gotten last year. And then you can do Lacey and Charlotte at Mania if you want, or just don't have Charlotte there. I don't give a fuck. She doesn't need to be there, but she will be there. She'll win the title or defend the title, because can't get enough of her, according to Vince. But I just think the sequence of eliminations of the final 3 made a lot of sense. Rhea to Charlotte, then Bianca to Rhea, with Bianca winning. So the Rumble match as a whole was really good. You had some nice surprise entrants. You had some nice Rumble stuff going on. You had some nice eliminations. You had people looking fairly strong. Shayna ended up having like 5 or 6 eliminations, so she looked strong. Rhea had a lot of eliminations, and she got to the final 2, so she looked really good. It was a star-making performance, even in defeat for her, and then obviously you pretty much made a star, or at least did the first step of making a star in Bianca Belair, giving her the win, and Bianca obviously Iron Manned it from the number 3 spot, so that was really good. Really put her over. Right decision, right execution, a very good Rumble match, and a very good decision for the Rumble. So no problems there. I really enjoyed that. They had a Bad Bunny and Miz and Morrison thing going on, which my stream wasn't really doing too hot for, and also I went to the bathroom because I needed to pee. So I didn't really get to see the majority of the backstage segment, but it was something about Miz and Morrison asking Bad Bunny to form like a tag team or something, and then he was like, nah, I'm good. And he's like, oh, what, you have a shitty song with Booker T and you think you're too good for Mr. Money in the Bank kind of thing. And then they had kind of Booker T come in behind them and be like, tell me you didn't just say that, his old shtick. And then that was the whole segment. It was kind of a throwaway, or at least you'd think, and then they follow up on it later. But they had a commentators panel segment with Truth showing up and Peter Rosenberg winning the 24/7 title. Who the fuck cares? Then you have Roman versus Kevin Owens in a Universal title match. They start off the match pretty strong. There's a early stunner. There's this and that. They go to the rafters where they did the segment on SmackDown where they threw Kevin Owens off, and they wrote him off TV for a couple weeks. So they go up, they fight there for a good 5 minutes, and then Kevin Owens gets thrown off again. 9 count, he gets up. He starts wandering backstage outside of the Thunderdome and into like Tropicana Field, the actual backstage parts of the arena. Gets run over by a golf cart driven by Roman Reigns. which gets a 9 count before Kevin Owens gets up. They have Roman beating down on Kevin Owens and then inciting his grandfather's name kind of thing and looking up to the heavens to be like, oh, look, I'm beating his ass kind of thing, which causes Kevin Owens to get really pissed off and, tackle him and beat the shit out of him. You can hear him yell, piece of shit. They didn't even cut it out, which was funny. Son of a bitch, stuff like that as he's beating him. Then a pop-up power bomb through a table, onto an announcer's table that was back there and then splashed through it kind of thing, which was only a 9 count. Then there was a forklift available. Kevin Owens put Roman Reigns onto a table, operated a forklift to get the pallet up as high as it could, climbed up to it, and then splashed, did a senton actually, off the forklift through a table onto Roman, which was only a 9 count. And then they go back into the arena through Gorilla, even though they didn't show Gorilla. They kind of cut to replays, and then they came out on the other side. There was a spear through the stage lights, like Rhino would have done to Jericho all those years ago on SmackDown kind of thing, by Roman onto Kevin Owens, which caused a 9 count. And then you get to the finish, which was unfortunately botched because the idea of the finish was fine. It's just there was a little bit of a botch with how it was executed. There was a spot where they go over to the kind of lighting rigs on the side of the stage, and Roman has handcuffs, so it's like, okay, he's going to handcuff Kevin Owens like they did in the cage match and then win the match kind of thing. Kevin Owens kind of turns around on him, handcuffs Roman kind of in a way that he can't stand up to answer the 10 count. Because obviously it's a last man standing match. I forget if I remember if I mentioned that. But basically, ref's at like an 8 or a 9 count, and then Roman's like, well, shit, grabs the ref and then throws him into like a lights thing or like part of the stage, which knocks out the ref. So that gives him some time. And then kind of Heyman comes over to unlock him kind of thing. Because he low blowed, I think, Kevin Owens when he came over, I think is how he got the time. Because Kevin Owens was there. Kevin Owens would have had to be there to do something. Heyman comes over to unlock the handcuffs, but it takes a long ass time. The new ref comes in and he's counting. He's at a 6 count, and then he notices that Kevin Owens goes up, and the camera cuts to Kevin Owens standing up. And he's like, oh, he's up, and then he sees Roman there, and he stops counting Roman. Now, I thought that this was kind of weird. I thought that he maybe stopped counting Roman because he realized Paul Heyman was having trouble unlocking the handcuffs. So he was like, okay, well, we can't have this finish like this. Like, Roman has to retain. But then again, I thought, if somebody's interacting with the person in the match, you can't count the 10. They have to be like left alone for the 10 to count. So since Heyman is there trying to unlock the shit, he's like interacting physically with Roman Reigns in a way. So I guess within kayfabe, you can't count Roman at that point. But it did make Kevin Owens look a little bit like shit because Kevin Owens was acknowledged to have gotten up, and then he just kind of waited around for Heyman to unlock the handcuffs, which again he had trouble with, which was unfortunate because it would have been a good finish otherwise. Then he gets up and then into a guillotine from Roman Reigns, holds it in for a fair while, and then causes the 10 count to retain his championship. The match itself was great. The decision is the right one. You put over Kevin Owens really big even in loss here because, Roman didn't really cheat to win, right? And everything he did was within the confines of the rules, you know what I mean? He didn't get outside interference to help him win. He attacked the ref, which you're allowed to do in a no disqualification match. Obviously, Heyman got in and kind of saved him with the key for the handcuffs. But I mean, Kevin Owens looks good in defeat. Well, with the planned finish, he would have looked good in defeat. With the botched finish, he kind of looks kind of foolish a little bit, but that's just a botch. That's not the intention, right? So within what they were intending to do, everything looks good. Roman retains the title, looks strong. Kevin Owens looks strong in defeat. And it was a great last man standing match. I really enjoyed it. So that was really good. So at this point, Rumble was doing pretty good. Sasha and Carmella was good. The Women's Rumble was good. This match was good. Drew and Goldberg was shit, but it had the right outcome. So, I was optimistic for the main Rumble match. And I'm going to tell you right now that I ended up disappointed. But we'll get there. Edge comes out at number 1. Randy is number 2. That was announced yesterday. Edge runs up the ramp to attack Randy before the bell can ring, before Randy even starts making his entrance kind of thing. They brawl a little bit. Sami Zayn at number 3. He's motioning to his what are they called? Documentary crew, with the number 3 with his hands, being like, hey, number 3, this is a conspiracy. Why am I this early in the Rumble kind of thing? And then him and Randy kind of focus Edge. Then at number 4, Mustafa Ali comes in, helps Randy and Sammy attacking Edge. Number 5 is Jeff Hardy. There was a spot where Randy did an RKO to Jeff, Mustafa, and Sammy. I think Sammy first, then Jeff, then Mustafa, maybe. I don't know. Or maybe Jeff, then Sammy, then Mustafa. I don't know. He did 3 RKOs and then turned around into a spear. And then they continued the brawl into the outside. Edge hit an execution onto Randy onto the table, but the table didn't give. Ziggler was in at number 6 as Edge was beating Randy with a chair at ringside, and he has a chair to his leg kind of thing. And then they end up doing a Randy is injured. He has to be taken out of the match spot with Randy. Ziggler was wearing his tag title when he made his entrance. I like that. Dolph eliminated Jeff pretty much as soon as he got in the ring. Number 7 was Shinsuke. At this point, they were showing footage of Randy being helped to the back by referees. And number 8, which I popped huge for, was Carlito. Dude's looking jacked. Dude's looking fucking, Carlito, brother. It's Carlito for the first time in over 10 years in the WWE. It was dope. He had a cool Apple spot with Shinsuke, where he was kind of, about to do his Apple spot, and then Shinsuke grabbed it and he's like, "Ooh, cool Apple. This is cool." And then Carlito grabbed it back. He's like, "Oh, you want the Apple?" Kind of threw it at his head as a distraction, and then kind of brawls with Shinsuke for a little bit. At this point, Randy's pretty much off the screen in the back. At number 9, there was Xavier Woods coming in. He goes straight for Mustafa Ali. At number 10 was Big E. He eliminated Sammy after some offense with Woods against Sami Zayn. At number 11, there was John Morrison. Ali eliminates Woods, and then Big E eliminates Mustafa Ali before number 12, Ricochet, comes to the ring. At number 13, there was Elias. Does it really matter? I don't think so. He's not that great anyways. But he eliminates Carlito, unfortunately. I would have liked for maybe somebody else to eliminate Carlito and get that kind of rub, but it is what it is. And number 14 was Damian Priest from NXT. He eliminates Elias. They showed footage of Randy in the doctor's room at this point. And number 15 was The Miz. He goes over to Bad Bunny's DJ set with his briefcase and just breaks it to shit and then goes down to the ring. Bad Bunny comes out during the match, and he's kind of like trying to get in the match, and the officials are like, "Hey, you're not a wrestler, you can't get in there." Miz and Morrison yelling at him from inside the ring, turn around into getting eliminated by Priest with a double clothesline. And while they're outside, Bad Bunny, now allowed to bypass the security or the refs or whatever, for whatever reason, goes up to the top rope, does a crossbody off the top rope to ringside onto Miz and Morrison. His back foot slipped when he did it as well, so it could have gone really badly. But I enjoyed that because it was just so nonsensical. And apparently the guy's just a big wrestling fan, so that must have been cool for him to do as a bucket list kind of thing. At number 16 was Matt Riddle. At number 17 was Daniel Bryan, which was fine. Daniel Bryan and Riddle had some pockets of, just them going together throughout the match, which were really good, really hard hitting, really technical grappling exchanges, stuff like that. Ricochet did his backflip deadlift German to Bryan. At number 18, Kane came out. The year is 2021. He eliminated Dolph. The year is 2021. Kane eliminated Ricochet. The year is 2021. And then Bryan wants a hug with Kane. They hug and then choke slam by Kane onto Bryan before Priest eliminates Kane. I'm fine with Bryan and Kane doing the hug spot, but why does Kane have to eliminate Dolph? Whatever. Dolph is kind of, he had his shot at superstardom. He got concussions. Then they stopped trusting him, and he looks really good. He sells very good. He bumps very good. He makes other people's offense look good. They're going to pay him a lot of money to do the job. Right, so it's kind of like dead and buried with Dolph that he's not really going to amount to much anymore, unfortunately, because he is somebody that could and should have been a main eventer, but unfortunately that ship has sailed. But I mean, like, Ricochet, why is he getting eliminated by Kane? And I don't think Ricochet eliminated anybody either. So, like, why was, you know what I mean? Like, whatever. At number 19, Corbin comes out and eliminates Shinsuke. So much for Shinsuke's push. I guess he's not really amounting to much. At number 20 was Otis, who eliminated... Otis was eliminated by Corbin. And then at number 21, Dominic comes in and he eliminates Corbin, which Corbin says from ringside, like, yeah, you'll pay for that, punk. Number 22 was Lashley, who immediately eliminates Dominic by just kind of picking him up and throwing him, clearing him over the top rope to the outside. He also eliminated Damian Priest, which was pretty good. But Priest had a good, time in the Rumble. He eliminated a lot of people. He looked good. He had some good offense. I think he could be a really good main roster guy when they're ready to bring him up. Personally, they had a moment between Big E and Lashley where they kind of went head to head, and it was a big hoss off kind of thing. Oh, I'm stronger than you. No, I'm stronger than you kind of thing, which was pretty good. And number 23 was Hurricane. You guys know, if you've been on my channel for a while, I love Gregory Helms. I love the Hurricane. It didn't have as much impact as it did the last time, but it was still awesome to see him there. He tried the double choke slam thing on Big E and Lashley, and then they both eliminated Hurricane within 30 seconds, I think commentary said. Then at number 24 was Christian, which I was very happy about. I was kind of not skeptical, but I was kind of anticipating Christian in the match earlier in the night, maybe around number 5, 6, to kind of come in for the save against Edge when he was getting outnumbered. But he came in at number 24. I was only 20 spots off, brother. So yeah, it was great to see him in. I'm assuming he's cleared now for at least part-time wrestling, which is awesome, so he can get some more matches in. We can see a little bit more of him, you know what I mean? They had a spot where Christian, Riddle, Big E, and Bryan, I think, all eliminated Lashley, so that keeps Lashley strong. You needed everybody in the ring pretty much to eliminate him at that point. Edge and Christian hug. Riddle tries to get in on it, and they kind of turn the tables on him and attack him. When Christian was making his entrance, they showed Edge kind of like exhausted from being in the Rumble as long, and then he saw Christian make his entrance, and then he had like a smile that looked like he was going to break into tears, like with happiness kind of thing, which commentary tried to put over as him being like, oh, he has an ally now, he's not alone anymore. But I think it was just him being really happy that Christian got cleared, because he knows how much Christian loves wrestling. He loves wrestling. Edge, it took a lot for Edge to get back, so if Christian got cleared, like, it would mean a lot to Edge as well. So I think that's what I got from that. I don't think it was like a storyline reaction. I think he was just genuinely very happy for his best friend. And number 25 was AJ Styles with Amos, whatever. And number 26 was Rey Mysterio. And I am so fucking I was so like giddy, I guess is the word. I was laughing, brother. They had Rey's entrance, right? And then Michael Cole, as soon as he announced Rey was number 26, oh, and look at his mask. It's based on this style of beer because he is their new ambassador or whatever. And WWE is proud to sponsor and partner with this brand of beer. They used a whole ass Rumble spot to promote a beer sponsorship. The state of WWE, man. Fuck me. Incredible. They had a spot where Amos saved AJ from elimination and then reached into the ring to eliminate Big E. And then while Big E tried to get into him, he kind of like did a claw onto his face, like the Von Erich claw kind of thing, you know what I mean? clawed his face and then pushed him over the announce table, and then that was that. I really didn't like that. It makes Big E look fucking weak. I don't care how big Amos, whatever you want to call him. I don't care how big Amos is. From standing on the outside and reaching into the ring and pulling Big E, who you literally just had go head to head with Bobby Lashley in a Hoss Fest. You know what I mean? Like, do it with somebody else. Like, do it with somebody else who's smaller and it makes sense, but it's Big E, you know what I mean? And Big E, like, I don't know. I think I didn't like that elimination particularly. And then I didn't like how easily Amos disposed of Big E after the fact. And Amos was still out there when Big E would have gotten up to leave the ring, so why wouldn't Big E continue to fight him? You know, why would Big E just let it slide? He's still there. It didn't really make much sense to me. With who they did it and how they did it. Number 27 was Sheamus, lucky number 27. Amos at some point stops a 619 from Ray but that he's trying to do to AJ. AJ throws him over the top. Ray goes to springboard into the ring. Amos is like, nah, I'm going to catch you and throw you onto the barricade and you're eliminated kind of thing. So Amos has 2 eliminations despite not being in the match. Then at number 28 was Cesaro. They had a bit of Cesaro offense followed by a standoff with the bar. Then he swings Sheamus, says every man for himself, and then he had a long swing on Bryan. Number 29 was a returning Seth Rollins, with number 30 being Braun Strowman. Thank fuck it wasn't Goldberg. Amos saves AJ from a Braun elimination fairly quickly after Braun's whole entrance into the match. And then, let me flip the page in my book here, because we got one more flip of the page. I think I accidentally just hit my mic stand, so apologies for that. We had Braun eliminating Cesaro, and then eliminating Sheamus, and then eliminating AJ by grabbing AJ, going like he was going to eliminate him where Amos was standing, and then kind of redirecting to where Amos wasn't, and then he kind of had a stare off with Amos from inside of the ring. Seth eliminated Bryan, and at this point, I immediately turned off from the Rumble. With the people who were left in the match at this point, I wasn't intrigued by any of them winning. I said in my Raw review that I wouldn't be upset with a certain somebody winning. Turns out I ended up being very upset with a certain somebody winning. So we got Riddle then getting eliminated by Seth as well. And then Edge and Christian did a thing where they eliminated Braun while Seth eliminated Christian. So they did the Big Show and Chris Benoit elimination spot with Braun and Edge. Then Christian came over to help Braun eliminate, or help Edge eliminate Braun. And then as they're about to eliminate Braun and all of his weight is into eliminating Braun, Seth comes in and then he plops Christian over the top rope, leaving just Edge and Rollins in there. Edge eliminates Rollins, then the camera's very zoomed in on him, and if you just know wrestling, you knew this was happening anyways. Randy turns up, hits an RKO, picks up Edge, goes to throw him out. Edge reverses it, eliminates Randy, and wins the Royal Rumble match. Fucking why? Why? There are so many things that I personally very much disliked about the men's Royal Rumble match. Why are you giving the Iron Man spot that is meant to propel a superstar to give them a big push, elevate their status? Why are you giving that to a Hall of Famer? Why is a Hall of Famer who does not need a championship match at Mania in the year 2021 because he started wrestling in fucking like 1990 or some shit? Why are you giving him the Mania win? Why did you do the whole Randy Orton injury thing just to make Randy look like absolute shit at the end? Randy literally had the whole night off, came in, hit his finish, and then got eliminated. It buries Randy. Well, you can't bury Randy, but it's awful for Randy. It's a waste of a Rumble winner because Edge didn't need to do it. It's a waste of the Iron Man spot because Edge didn't need to Iron Man a Rumble when he's 87 years old in 2021 as a Hall of Famer who just came back from retirement. It didn't make sense. They had that stupid Big E elimination, which I didn't like. They had Kane eliminating 2 people Like, is that really needed? It's just, it didn't. There was no Keith Lee or Jey Uso, but apparently those guys are kind of not allowed in because they either got COVID or were in contact with somebody who had COVID. I really don't like Edge winning the Rumble. And I was talking to people, and they were saying that they were fine with it. And they're like, oh, what appears to me is that there's no stars, so that's why Vince went with this. And it's like, yeah, there's no stars because he doesn't build stars. And then a year comes by and he's like, oh, I need stars for the Rumble or for this and that. He's like, okay, who do I have? Oh, I didn't build anybody. Let's just get an old guy. And then it's an endless cycle that will only end when the old stars that he's supposed to be bringing back are the people he never put over, and he's going to be dead by then, so it's not his mess to clean up. So I don't get me wrong, I love Edge. I'm happy that he's healthy. I'm happy that he's back wrestling. I really am. I'm not happy that he's in a WWE Championship or Universal Championship match at WrestleMania. You know what I mean? Or you know what? Even if they wanted to do that, whatever. I'm fine with him being in the match itself. That's fine, okay? As long as he doesn't win, right? If you want to give Drew a WWE Championship retention against another Hall of Famer to build up Drew to the casual fans a little bit more, fine, okay? I'm fine with that, whatever. Don't have him win the Rumble. Brian is about to go part-time in a year or two, whatever, right? And then he's going to be no time shortly after that. You should have given Brian the Rumble 7 years ago. Give Brian the Rumble now. You know what I mean? Or like I would say give somebody else the Rumble, but I wouldn't want somebody else. The people who I would want to win the Rumble, like a Cesaro, I wouldn't want them to then lose at Mania, and I don't think that Roman should be losing at Mania. So I think whoever faces Roman at Mania is going to lose, and rightfully so. So Brian is a perfect person because you give him the Rumble win that he should have gotten 7 years ago, and that would kind of like round out his career of accolades. And then he can go over to Mania and then lose. You know what I mean? Because I don't understand. And more so than him winning the match, right? More so than Edge winning the match, because I'm not happy with that. I think I'm more upset at the Iron Man spot being given to Edge. Right? Like, if you're going to have Edge win, fair enough, whatever. I don't like it, but you're like, if Brian's not winning, who else do I want in there that can take a loss? I don't want a Sheamus Rumble win. Fine. Give me Edge as a, like, whatever. I'll take it. It should have been Brian, but I'll submit to the fact that whatever, Edge isn't an awful choice. I don't think he's a good choice by any means, but I don't think he's an awful choice because he can eat a loss at WrestleMania, no problem. And whatever. But the Iron Man spot, they did the Iron Man spot correctly in the Women's Rumble by giving it to Bianca and then having her win. Why not give the Iron Man spot to Cesaro or to Shinsuke or to Mustafa Ali, even though they don't really hold him that in high regard, or something like? Give it to somebody like Cesaro, and by like Cesaro I mean give Cesaro the fucking Iron Man spot, or give it to Ricochet. Ricochet would have been a good Iron Man. Just don't have him cut promos afterwards, and that's fine. But like, You could have propelled Cesaro to where he should be. If you give Cesaro the Iron Man spot in the fucking Rumble, he immediately shoots up. You gave him a win over Ziggler and over Dolph, 2 world champions in the past. That elevates his stock already. Clean wins. Why not give him the Iron Man spot? The fans love him. The boys in the back, all the wrestlers, when they're asked, hey, who should we push? They immediately say Cesaro as their first pick. Cesaro should be a main event guy. Why not propel him with the Iron Man spot? Give him number 2, 3, 4, 1, whatever. And then whatever. Edge also won from the number 1 spot, making him the third number 1 spot winner alongside Shawn Michaels and Steven Richards. So, yeah, Chris Benoit, I don't know who that is. But yeah, a new number 1 spot winner wasn't really needed if it's Edge. maybe have Edge come in at like 16 or something, and then you can have him kind of like mini Iron Man it and then still win if you want. I'm assuming Edge maybe didn't request to Iron Man 1 to the end, but he maybe would have been like, hey, like, regardless of what happens, just put me in there for a long time. It's been, months now, and it was years before that. Like, I want to be in there for as long as possible kind of thing. And again, like, I have nothing against Edge. I love Edge. He's a Hall of Famer. I loved watching him when I was younger, but I loved watching him when I was younger. And when I was younger, he was already in that veteran status. And now it's 20 years in the future, 15 years in the future. He shouldn't be in the main event for the championship. He just shouldn't. Not at WrestleMania. Maybe on an episode of Raw, sure. You know what I mean? Maybe at Elimination Chamber and the Elimination Chamber match for the title. Sure. Singles at Mania or a triple threat at Mania, whatever they end up doing. Really? Why? And it's a waste of a Rumble win too. Like, Edge already has a Rumble win. He doesn't need one. You know what I mean? If the Rumble winner is just predisposed to lose because neither Drew or Roman should lose at Mania, give it to somebody who's never won it before. Like Bryan, so he can round out his career. I didn't like it. It left a sour taste in my mouth to end off the show. Overall, though, it was a good show. I'll give it like maybe an 8 out of 10, 7 or 8 out of 10, 7.5, 8 out of 10, around that range in terms of a score out of 10. The WWE Championship match, again, was garbage, but it was the right result, so I'll give it a pass. The women's title match was good. The Women's Rumble was very, very good. It was probably one of my favorite Rumble matches in recent years, honestly, just, in a kind of like right after the fact mentality. And then, the Last Man Standing match was great, and the Rumble match just kind of fell short for me. So I'll give it an 8 out of 10. The things dragging it down for me personally are Edge winning the Rumble match itself not being as great, and then obviously that shit fucking match with Drew and Goldberg. I give it a pass, but it still shouldn't have happened. So yeah, 8 out of 10 Rumble for me. Would have been maybe a 9 out of 10 if Bryan had won the Rumble, and then maybe a 10 out of 10 if Bryan had won the Rumble and then they had Drew versus an actual wrestler instead of an old man who used to play football. So, yeah, that was my Rumble review. Let me know what you guys thought of the show down below. If you'd like to check out some of the other stuff I do on the channel, you can do so over at the end cards at the end of the video. If you'd like to support me in the channel, you can do so over at Patreon. First link in the description. Follow me on Twitter. Link in the description. Please sponsor me. Peace Tea, of course. Obligatory sponsor me gimmick. We have to throw that in there. Be sure to turn on notifications so you never miss an episode because YouTube likes to zuck your boy and not put my videos in your sub boxes. So by pressing that nice old bell icon, you will get a push notification anytime I do upload, and you'll never have to miss it. And I hope you guys enjoyed the review. If you did, please leave a like, subscribe, share to all your friends, comment down below, all that good shit. And I will see you guys next time.